The massive chamber fell silent as Ambassador Jake Morrison stood before the Galactic Council, his human face showing no emotion while chaos erupted around him. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the galactic community. 3 years of smiles and cooperation and endless questions from the curious newcomers from Earth. The council members had found humans amusing at first. These strange primates from a death world who seemed so eager to learn, so willing to follow every rule and regulation the council imposed. High Chancellor Vexter clicked his mandibles together, his insectoid body shifting on the elevated platform that marked his position as leader of the council. Around him sat representatives from 47 species, each one more advanced than humanity, each one secure in their superiority. Ambassador Morrison, Vexter's voice buzzed through the translation device. Surely you jest. This ultimatum you have presented cannot be serious. 30 standard cycles. Jake interrupted, his voice calm and clear. The Galactic Council will submit to complete governmental oversight by human administration, or face the consequences. Laughter erupted from several council members. Councilor Drathenix, his reptilian scales gleaming under the chamber lights, slammed his clawed hand on his desk. The arrogance! Drathenix hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. 3 years you have been among us. 3 years as the youngest and weakest species in this council, and now you demand we submit to you? Jake remained standing, his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him, Ambassador Lisa Chun tapped commands into a data tablet, her expression equally neutral. I am transmitting detailed information packets to each of your terminals, Lisa said, her voice steady. I suggest you review them before making any hasty decisions. The council members looked at their screens, their various forms of laughter dying away as data began flowing across their displays. Vexter's compound eyes widened as he processed the information. This cannot be accurate, the High Chancellor whispered, though his voice carried through the silent chamber. These readings show military installations on 42 moons throughout council space, Jake finished. 17 new weapons platforms we developed from your technology, improved and enhanced. A fleet of 6,000 vessels currently in stealth mode, undetectable by any of your sensors. Impossible! Drathenix roared, jumping to his feet. We would have detected such construction. Our intelligence services monitor all species, especially new ones. Your intelligence services, Lisa interrupted, have been compromised for the past 2 years. Every report you received about human activities was carefully curated by our own agents. While you watched what we wanted you to see, we built what you could not imagine. Councillor Krevax, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, pulsed with agitation. The species prided themselves on scientific superiority, yet here sat evidence that humans had surpassed them. How? Krevax's voice resonated through the chamber. Our technology required millennia to develop. You claim to have mastered and improved upon it in mere years? Jake allowed himself a small smile. You asked us so many questions when we arrived. You wanted to know about Earth, about our history, about how we survived on such a dangerous world. You thought you were studying primitive curiosities. We were studying you, Lisa continued. Every ship you showed us, every technology you demonstrated, every casual conversation about your capabilities, we absorbed it all. Humans are very good at learning, you see. We had to be, growing up on a world that tried to kill us every single day. The chamber erupted in angry voices, accusations flying between council members. Some blamed their intelligence services for the failure. Others demanded immediate military action. Vexter called for order, his mandibles clicking rapidly in frustration. Even if this is true, even if you possess these capabilities, you are one species against 47. Our combined might would crush any resistance you could mount. Could it? Jake asked quietly, and something in his tone made the entire chamber fall silent again. Tell me, "Hi, Chancellor. What do you know about human history?" "You are warlike," Drathnix answered before Vexter could respond. "Your data file showed countless conflicts, wars spanning your entire recorded history. This ultimatum proves you are nothing but conquerors." "We know war," Jake acknowledged, his voice hard. "We know it better than any species in this chamber. We know what it costs, what it takes, what it leaves behind. That knowledge made us very, very good at it." Lisa activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images appeared, showing human vessels in orbit around Council worlds, human installations on supposedly secret military bases, human agents embedded in governments across the galaxy. "For 3 years, we played the role you expected," Lisa said. "The naive newcomers, grateful to be included, eager to please. And while you patted yourselves on the back for accepting such primitive beings into your Grand Council, we positioned ourselves for this moment." "You planned this from the beginning," Krivax observed, his energy form dimming with realization. "Your entire approach to first contact was calculated. We learned about you before we ever said hello," Jake confirmed. "We intercepted your scout ships decades ago, studied your languages, your cultures, your politics. We knew exactly what kind of council we would be joining. We knew about the corruption, the suppression of younger species, the genocides committed in the name of stability." The chamber exploded with denials and accusations. Several council members demanded proof. Others called for Jake's immediate arrest. Vexter raised his forelimbs, calling again for silence. "These are serious accusations, Ambassador. If you have evidence of such crimes—" 17 civilizations, Lisa said flatly, activating another display. 17 species that grew too powerful, too independent, too threatening to the established order. All of them destroyed by Council military action. All of it covered up and hidden from the historical record. The images showed data files, encrypted communications, orders signed by previous Council administrations. The proof was undeniable. "We found these records while you thought we were learning about agriculture and trade routes," Jake said. "We found mass graves on forgotten worlds, weapon signatures that matched Council arsenals, testimony from the few survivors who escaped. The silence that followed was deafening. 30 cycles," Jake repeated. "Submit to governmental reform under human oversight. Adopt universal rights protections for all species. Dissolve the aristocratic council system and replace it with representative democracy, or we will do it by force." "This is extortion," Drathnix snarled. "This is justice," Jake replied calmly. "You have ruled this galaxy through fear and manipulation for too long. Humanity will not stand by and watch you destroy another civilization because they threaten your power." Vexter looked at the data, at the proof of human capabilities, at the faces of his fellow council members. He saw fear there, and anger, and desperate calculation. "The council will vote," he announced. "All in favor of rejecting this ultimatum and maintaining our sovereignty." 46 hands, claws, tentacles, and appendages rose in the air. Only Krivax abstained, his crystalline form pulsing with uncertainty. "The vote is decided," Vexter declared. "Ambassador Morrison, the Galactic Council rejects your demands. We will not submit to threats from an upstart species, regardless of your claimed capabilities." Jake nodded slowly, as if he had expected this response. "Very well. You have 30 cycles to reconsider. I suggest you use them wisely." As the 2 human ambassadors left the chamber, Lisa leaned close to Jake. "They think we are bluffing?" "They think their numbers make them safe," Jake replied. "They are about to learn what humans do when we are not playing nice anymore." Behind them, the council erupted into panicked discussions about military preparations, alliance formations, and defensive strategies. None of them noticed the small smile on Jake Morrison's face as he walked away. The countdown had begun. The assembled fleet hung in space like a display of galactic unity. 12 species represented by 300 warships positioned at the edge of humanity's solar system. Admiral Susan Torres watched the display from the bridge of her flagship, her gray eyes tracking each vessel as tactical data streamed across her screens. Beside her, Captain Ryan Blake stood with his arms crossed, studying the alien formation with professional interest. "They brought everything they could spare," Ryan observed. "Looks like they want to make an impression." "They want to scare us," Susan corrected. "Lexter thinks a show of force will make us back down from our demands." The communication channel crackled to life, and the image of Fleet Commander Zoltan appeared on the main screen. The amphibian commander's skin rippled with colors that indicated aggression and dominance. "Humans of Earth," Zoltan's voice boomed through the translation matrix. "You stand before the combined might of the Galactic Council. Your ultimatum has been rejected, your threats dismissed. Surrender immediately and submit to Council authority, or we will reduce your pathetic world to ashes." "No," Ryan interrupted calmly, his voice cutting through Zoltan's speech. The alien commander's skin flashed with confusion. "What did you say?" "I said no," Ryan repeated, stepping closer to the screen. "I am Captain Ryan Blake of the Human Defense Fleet, and I am offering you one chance to surrender. Turn your ships around and leave this system, or face the consequences." Laughter erupted from the alien bridge, echoing through the communication channel. Zoltan's entire crew seemed to find the human's words hilarious. "You dare threaten us?" Zoltan managed between laughs. "We are 300 strong. Our sensors detect only one human vessel in this entire system." "Have you lost your minds?" "Maybe we have," Ryan admitted with a slight smile. "But the offer stands. Surrender now, or we will be forced to take action." Zoltan's skin turned a deep purple, indicating fury. "All ships, weapons hot. Target the human vessel and fire on my mark." "Fire," Zoltan commanded. Nothing happened. The alien commander stared at his weapons console in confusion. Around him, crew members frantically worked their controls, voices rising in panic. "Commander, weapons are offline. Shields are down. Navigation is not responding. Engine control is locked out." Throughout the Council fleet, the same scene played out on every ship. Sophisticated weapon systems that had taken centuries to perfect suddenly went dark. Shield generators that had protected against countless threats simply stopped functioning. And propulsion systems that could cross the galaxy in weeks refused to engage. "What have you done?" Zoltan demanded, his skin now flickering between colors of fear and rage. Ryan's smile grew wider. "We asked nicely. You chose to attack. Admiral Torres, if you would." The space around the Council fleet suddenly filled with ships, hundreds of them appearing as if materializing from nothing. Sleek human vessels surrounded the alien formation, their weapons powered but not firing, their presence overwhelming. "Cloaking technology," Zoltan whispered, his skin going pale. "The Council said such technology was theoretically impossible. The Council was wrong about a lot of things," Susan Torres said, her voice now joining the communication. "I am Admiral Susan Torres, Commander of Human Military Operations. Your fleet is completely disabled. Your ship's helpless. But we will not fire a single shot because we are not here to kill you." "Then what do you want?" Zoltan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We want you to watch," Susan replied. The main display shifted, showing a split screen of dozens of different worlds. Zoltan recognized them immediately: major Council homeworlds and colony planets, the seats of galactic power and civilization. Above each world hung human vessels, their positions marked clearly for all to see. "For the past 6 months," Susan continued, "we have positioned our ships in orbit around every significant Council world. Your defenses never detected us, Your sensors never registered our presence. We have been watching you, studying you, waiting for this moment. Ryan activated another display, this one showing planetary defense grids around the Council's capital world. To prove we mean what we say, watch closely. The defense grid flickered and died. Hundreds of weapon platforms and shield generators going offline simultaneously. For 60 seconds, the Council's most important world sat completely unprotected, vulnerable to any attack. Then, just as suddenly, the systems came back online. We could have attacked at any time, Ryan explained. We could have destroyed your worlds, crippled your infrastructure, caused casualties beyond counting. But we chose not to, because we are not the monsters you fear. On the alien bridges, crew members stared at their screens in horror. The implications were staggering. Humans had possessed the ability to devastate the Pale Council for half a year and had chosen restraint. Councilor Krivak's voice joined the communication, his energy form appearing on a secondary channel. This broadcast is being transmitted across the entire galaxy. Every world, every station, every ship with a receiver, Susan confirmed. We want everyone to understand the truth. The Council cannot protect you. Your governments kept you safe through strength and unity, but that strength was an illusion. Zolfin slumped in his command chair, his skin now showing patterns of defeat and resignation. Why show us this? Why not simply attack and be done with it? Because we are not conquerors, Ryan answered. We gave the Council 30 cycles to accept our terms. That deadline still stands. This demonstration is proof that we have the capability to enforce our demands, but also proof that we would rather not. Admiral Torres brought up another display, this one showing the current positions of human forces throughout Council space. Every military installation, every fleet staging area, every hidden weapons depot, we know where they are. We have mapped your entire military infrastructure. You could destroy us completely, Krivak observed, his voice filled with wonder and fear. Yet you choose this path instead. We choose justice, Susan replied firmly. We discovered what the Council has done, the civilizations you destroyed, the species you suppressed. We will not allow that to continue, but we also will not become the very thing we oppose. Ryan gestured to the disabled Council fleet. Your ships will be released in 1 hour. All systems will be restored, all personnel unharmed. You will return to your homeworlds with this message. Humanity demands reform, not revenge. We demand accountability, not destruction. And if the Council still refuses? Zolfin asked, though he already knew the answer. Then we will dismantle your military capability piece by piece, Susan answered. We will do it without killing a single being if possible, but we will do it. The days of Council tyranny are over one way or another. The communication shifted again, now showing Jake Morrison standing in what appeared to be a human military command center. The countdown continues. You now have 28 cycles remaining. I strongly suggest the Council use this time to seriously consider our demands. You are asking for total submission, Vexter's voice interjected, the High Chancellor joining the broadcast from the Council chambers. You are asking us to dismantle everything we have built. We are asking you to submit to the principles of freedom and justice, Jake corrected. Not to us, but to the ideals that every sentient being deserves. The Council system is corrupt. It suppresses innovation and diversity. It maintains power through fear. That ends now. Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. On Council worlds, citizens saw human ships hovering above their cities, saw their mighty defenses disabled and restored with casual ease. On suppressed colony worlds, oppressed populations heard words of liberation and hope. On independent planets, leaders calculated rapidly shifting political realities. The Council's invincible image had been shattered in a matter of hours. Zoltan looked at his crew, at the human ships surrounding his disabled fleet, at the future unfolding before his eyes. "What do? We do what we should have done from the beginning," Krivak's voice answered. "We listen. We consider. We accept that perhaps these humans, these newcomers we dismissed as primitive, might understand something we forgot." "And what is that?" Zoltan asked. "That true strength lies not in the ability to dominate," Krivak replied, "but in the choice not to." The hour passed in tense silence. Human ships maintained their positions, weapons ready but not firing. Council crews worked desperately to regain control of their systems, only to realize that humans had locked them out completely. When the countdown reached 0, every system on every council ship suddenly came back online. Navigation, weapons, shields, communications, all restored to full functionality in an instant. "You are free to go," Ryan announced. "Return to your worlds. Tell your leaders what you witnessed here. Tell them that humanity keeps its word." The council fleet began its slow withdrawal, moving cautiously as if expecting a trap. But the human ships simply watched them go, maintaining position but making no threatening moves. As the last alien vessel entered hyperspace, Susan Torres turned to Ryan. "Think they got the message?" "They got it," Ryan replied, watching the tactical display. "The question is whether the council will accept it." 28 cycles to find out," Susan observed. "I am betting they will fight," Ryan said. Pride is a powerful thing, even when facing overwhelming odds. The council chambers had become a battlefield of words and accusations, with representatives shouting over each other in dozens of languages while High Chancellor Vexter struggled to maintain order. "This is unacceptable," roared Councillor Drathenix, his reptilian form towering over his desk. "We cannot simply surrender to human demands. Where is our pride, our strength?" "Our strength was proven to be an illusion," Krivak replied, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Did you not see the demonstration? Did you not understand what it means? It means we underestimated them." Drathenix admitted, but underestimation is not defeat. "We still have resources, allies, weapons they have not seen, do we?" Krivak interrupted. "The humans infiltrated our intelligence services for years. They positioned ships throughout Council space undetected for 6 months. What makes you think they do not know about every secret weapon? Every hidden alliance?" The chamber erupted again, with various factions forming, a species aligned with those who shared their views. The warrior species gravitated toward Drathenix and his calls for resistance, while the scientific and merchant species clustered around Krivak's more cautious approach. Vexter clicked his mandibles loudly, demanding attention. "We must vote on our response. All in favor of immediate military mobilization against humanity. Wait." The voice came from Ambassador Lisa Chun, who had entered the chamber quietly during the chaos. "Before you vote for war, perhaps you should know what you would be fighting for." "We would be fighting for our freedom," Drathenix declared. "Against human tyranny and domination, would you?" Lisa asked calmly, walking to the center of the chamber. "Let me show you what you would actually be fighting for." She activated a holographic display that filled the air above the council floor. Images appeared, ancient data files and encrypted communications that many council members had never seen before. 17 civilizations, Lisa began. 17 species that were destroyed by council military action over the past 3,000 years. Not because they were threats to galactic peace or security, but because they were threats to council power. The images showed worlds reduced to rubble, populations scattered or eliminated, cultural achievements erased from history. The documentation was extensive and damning. The Kethran were brilliant engineers. Lisa continued, highlighting one set of files. They developed faster-than-light technology that could have revolutionized galactic travel. The Council deemed them too dangerous and ordered their extinction. These are lies. Drathnix protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Are they? Krivax asked quietly. I have seen these files before, buried deep in the scientific archives. I thought they were historical accidents, natural disasters. Now I see they were deliberate policy. Lisa moved to another set of images. The Varath were peaceful philosophers who questioned council authority. They were erased. The Dhanari were artists whose culture inspired independence movements on a dozen worlds. They were eliminated. Species after species, destroyed not for what they did, but for what they represented. Council members shifted uncomfortably, many seeing the evidence for the first time. Even those who had known about the genocides had never seen such complete documentation. Where did you get this information? Vexthor demanded, his voice shaking. From your own archives, Lisa replied. During our 3 years of playing naive newcomers, we accessed every database, every secure file, every hidden communication in council systems. We know everything. Then why wait? Asked a minor council member from the back. If you knew about these crimes, why not attack immediately? Because we wanted to be sure, Lisa answered. We wanted to understand the full scope of what had been done, who was responsible, who could be trusted. We wanted to give you a chance to choose reform over destruction. She turned to face Drathnix directly. You call this tyranny, but look at what we are actually demanding. Universal rights for all sentient beings, representative government instead of aristocratic rule, transparency instead of secret decisions. Are these the demands of tyrants? You demand submission, Drathnix began, to principles of justice. Lisa interrupted, not to human rule. We are not installing ourselves as overlords. We are demanding that the council system be replaced with something fair, something that represents all species equally. Krivak's energy form brightened with understanding. You are not conquering us. You are liberating us from our own government. Some of you. Yes, Lisa acknowledged. Others were complicit in the council's crimes, but even those, we are offering the chance to change. 28 cycles remain to choose a better path. A small, previously quiet council member named Feliner stood up. His species had always been considered minor players in council politics. What happens to species like mine if we support your demands? You get a voice. Lisa replied immediately. Equal representation based on population and development, not based on military strength or ancient treaties. Your opinions will matter as much as any other species. And if we do not support you, Felina pressed. Then you face the consequences with everyone else. Lisa said honestly, but we would prefer your support. We would prefer every species choose reform willingly. The chamber fell silent as council members processed this information. The divide was becoming clear. Those who benefited from the current system versus those who had been suppressed by it. Drathnix stood again, his voice filled with determination. I will not surrender to human demands, no matter how they dress them up. My people are warriors. We do not bow to threats. Then you will fight alone, Feliner declared, surprising everyone. My people have suffered under council rule for centuries. If the humans offer something better, we will take it. 2 more minor species representatives stood, adding their support to Felinar's declaration. The council's unity was fracturing. Traitors! Drathnix roared. You side with invaders against your own kind. Our own kind? Felinar shot back. The council has never treated us as equals. We are tolerated, not respected, consulted, not included. If the humans offer true equality, they offer more than the council ever has. Vexthor watched his authority crumbling before his eyes. This debate is premature. We have not yet explored all diplomatic options. What options? Krivax asked. Military resistance is futile. As demonstrated, economic sanctions would hurt us more than them. Social isolation is impossible when half our species are already considering their offers. We negotiate, Vexter declared. We meet with the humans privately, find a middle ground. There is no middle ground on genocide. Lisa stated flatly, either you reform your system and accept accountability, or we dismantle it by force. Those are your only options. You cannot expect us to abandon thousands of years of tradition, one council elder began. Your traditions include systematic elimination of species that displease you. Lisa interrupted. Yes, we absolutely expect you to abandon those traditions. The chamber descended into chaos again, with supporters and opponents of human demands shouting accusations and arguments. Several physical confrontations nearly broke out before security forces intervened. Jake Morrison entered the chamber during the commotion, walking calmly to stand beside Lisa. I see the council is having productive discussions. They are dividing, Lisa replied quietly. As we predicted. Good, Jake said. Division means thinking, questioning. That is more progress than we hoped. 4. Vexter managed to restore some order. Ambassador Morrison. Surely we can find a compromise. Compromises are for differences of opinion, Jake replied. Not for questions of fundamental rights. You either believe all sentient beings deserve freedom and protection, or you do not. There is no compromise position. You are asking us to admit we were wrong, Vexter said, his voice weary. To expose ourselves to judgment and punishment. We are asking you to be better, Jake corrected gently. To choose the difficult path of reform instead of the easy path of continued oppression. Yes. There will be accountability. Yes. Some will face consequences for their actions. But the alternative is the complete destruction of everything the Council has built. Under your control, Drathnik's accused. Under democratic control, Jake emphasized. We will help establish the new system, but we will not rule it. Every species will have proportional representation and voting power. Including yours, Counselor. Before Drathniks could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Security displays activated, showing a massive military mobilization. What is this? Vexter demanded. A security officer rushed to the High Chancellor's platform. Sir, Counselor Drathnik's home fleet is moving. They are heading toward human territory. All eyes turned to Drathnik's, who stood with his head held high. I will not wait for submission. If the Council lacks the courage to fight, my people do not. We will strike at the human colony world of New Haven and prove they are not invincible. You fool, Krivax shouted. You will doom us all. I will show the galaxy that humans can bleed. Drathniks declared that they can be defeated. Once their mystique is shattered, others will join the fight. Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. This was not unexpected, but the timing was concerning. 28 cycles, Jake said quietly. You had 28 cycles to make the right choice. We are making it, Drathniks replied. Through strength and fire as Commander Danny Wright stood on the observation deck of New Haven's orbital station, watching the peaceful farming colony spread out below him like a patchwork quilt of green and gold. 200,000 humans called this world home, most of them farmers and their families who had left Earth seeking a simpler life among the stars. They grew food crops that fed a dozen human settlements across 3 star systems, living quiet lives far from military conflicts. Commander, we have incoming, his tactical officer shouted from the command center. Danny rushed back inside, his heart sinking as the display showed what was approaching. A massive fleet, easily 400 vessels, bearing down on New Haven with clear, hostile intent. Identification? Danny demanded. Council forces, sir. Specifically Drathenics' home fleet. They are broadcasting on all channels. The main screen activated, showing Counselor Drathenics standing on what appeared to be a warship bridge. His reptilian features were twisted with determination and hatred. Humans of New Haven, Drathenics' voice boomed. You stand at the edge of history. Today, the galaxy will learn that you are not gods, not invincible, not unstoppable. Today, we prove that you can be defeated. Danny felt cold dread sprinting through his chest. Get me Admiral Torres now. I am broadcasting to every world in the galaxy, Drathenics continued. Watch as we reduce this pathetic farming colony to ashes. Watch as human weakness is exposed for all to see. This is what happens to those who threaten the Council. The communication link to Fleet Command opened. Danny, we are aware of the situation, Susan Torres said immediately. Hold your position. Admiral, we have 200,000 civilians down there, Danny protested. Most of them are farmers, families, children. My defensive fleet is 12 ships against 400. I know, Susan interrupted gently. Trust the plan, Commander. Get your people to shelters, but do not evacuate. Do not evacuate? Danny repeated incredulously. Admiral, trust me, Susan insisted. No one is dying today, I promise you that. The channel closed, leaving Danny staring at his displays in confusion and fear. Around him, his crew looked equally uncertain. Sir, what are your orders? His tactical officer asked. Danny took a deep breath. Sound evacuation alarms. Get all civilians to underground shelters. Deploy defensive fleet in standard protection formation. And pray that the Admiral knows what she is doing. On the surface of New Haven, colonists abandoned their fields and homes, rushing to the reinforced shelters that every human colony maintained. Parents carried children, neighbors helped the elderly, everyone moving with practiced efficiency born from regular drills. In space, Drathenics' fleet approached the system boundary, their weapons charging for maximum destruction. The reptilian commander watched his displays with satisfaction. No human reinforcements? He asked his tactical officer. None detected, sir. The colony appears to be defended only by a token force. Perfect, Drathenics hissed. They thought their reputation alone would protect them. Today we teach them the cost of arrogance. His fleet crossed into the New Haven system, engines pushing them toward attack range. Drathenics prepared to give the order to fire. Then something strange appeared on the sensors. Commander, we are detecting unusual readings ahead, his science officer reported. It appears to be debris, possibly from an old battle. Ignore it, Drathenics ordered. Nothing will stop us from our objective. The fleet pushed forward into what looked like a cloud of metallic fragments and scattered materials. Ships navigated carefully around larger pieces while their shields deflected smaller impacts. This debris field is extensive, the science officer noted. It surrounds the entire inner system. Then we push through it, Drathenics declared. All ships maintain course and speed, the debris activated. Thousands of objects that had seemed like random fragments suddenly came to life, revealing themselves as autonomous defense platforms. Each one was small, no larger than a personal vehicle, individually weak and simple in design. But there were millions of them. Evasive action. Drathenics roared as the platforms began moving. All weapons fire at will. His fleet opened fire, destroying platforms by the hundreds. But for every one eliminated, 10 more appeared from the debris field. They did not attack with overwhelming force, but instead moved with precise coordination. One platform attached itself to a warship's weapon array and detonated, not destroying the ship but disabling its primary armament. Another targeted a vessel's shield generator with the same result. More and more platforms swarmed around each ship, systematically removing their offensive and defensive capabilities. They are not trying to destroy us, the tactical officer shouted. They are disabling our ships piece by piece. Drathenix watched in horror as his mighty fleet was reduced to helplessness by these tiny, simple machines. No lives were lost, no hulls breached fatally, but every vessel found itself unable to fight or flee. Within 30 minutes, the entire Council fleet hung dead in space, surrounded by slowly orbiting platforms that continued their watchful patrol. From New Haven's orbital station, Danny Wright broadcast to the disabled fleet. You came here to kill farmers. You came here to prove humans are vulnerable. You came here to murder families and children. His voice was hard, but controlled. We knew you were coming. We prepared for you, but we chose not to kill you. Every ship in your fleet is disabled, but intact. Every crew member is alive. Do you understand what this means? Drathenix said nothing, his skin showing patterns of shame and defeat. It means we could have destroyed you, Danny continued. We could have eliminated your entire fleet without warning. But we chose mercy. Remember that when you tell your story to the galaxy. A new voice joined the communication, Admiral Susan Torres, appearing on every screen in the disabled fleet. Counselor Drathenix, you attempted genocide against a civilian colony. You broadcast your intentions to the entire galaxy. You believed your strength made you untouchable. Susan's expression was cold and hard. I am now going to show you what real strength looks like. The displays throughout Drathenix's fleet shifted to show views from across Council space. At every major military installation, every fleet staging area, every weapons depot, human forces had appeared. For 6 months, we watched and waited, Susan explained. We positioned forces near every military asset the Council possesses. We did not attack because we hoped for a peaceful resolution. You ended that hope. She gestured, and the display showed human ships surrounding Council military facilities. I am offering you a choice, Counselor. Order your forces everywhere to stand down, or watch as we dismantle your entire military infrastructure. You are bluffing, Drathenix managed to say, though his voice shook. Am I? Susan asked. She nodded to someone off-screen. A Council military base on a remote moon suddenly went dark, its power systems disabled. Seconds later, they came back online. At a fleet maintenance facility, every ship simultaneously lost propulsion. The systems restored moments later. We can do this to every military asset you possess, Susan stated flatly. We can do it right now, all at once. Your entire war machine will cease to exist in less than an hour. The only question is whether we do it with or without casualties. Drathenix looked at his crew, at his disabled fleet, at the proof of human superiority displayed on every screen. He had come to prove human weakness and instead exposed his own. If I order stand down, he asked slowly, you will spare my people? We will spare everyone we can, Susan promised. We do not want to kill, Counselor. We want to stop the killing. That has always been our goal. The reptilian commanders seemed to age before their eyes. Why? Why show mercy to those who came to destroy you? Danny Wright answered before Susan could respond. Because we remember when others showed us mercy. We remember the times in our own history when enemies chose compassion over revenge. We remember that hate only breeds more hate. You are warriors, Drathenix observed. I can see it in how you fight, how you plan. Yet you choose not to kill. We are warriors, Danny confirmed. Earth made us warriors. But Earth also taught us what war costs. We choose to be more than our capacity for violence. Susan's voice was gentler now. Order the stand down, Counselor. End this before more damage is done. You cannot win this fight, but you can save lives by surrendering with dignity. Drathnix closed his eyes, his skin showing colors of resignation and sorrow. All Council forces, stand down. All military units, cease operations and await further orders. This is Counselor Drathnix, and I am ordering immediate cessation of all hostile activities. Across Council space, military commanders received the order with shock and confusion, but they obeyed, powering down weapons and withdrawing to defensive positions. Susan nodded with satisfaction. Wise choice. Your fleet will be released within the hour. Your military installations will remain under observation, but unharmed. Use this time to convince your government that further resistance is futile. Jake Morrison's voice joined the broadcast. The countdown now stands at 3 cycles. 3 standard days to accept our terms or face systematic dismantling of all Council military capability. Choose wisely. As the communication ended, Drathnix sat alone on his command deck, surrounded by the evidence of his failure. He had sought to prove human weakness and instead demonstrated their incredible strength. Not strength of weapons, though. The council chambers had been transformed. Where once 47 species sat in tiered seats according to their power and influence, now hundreds of representatives filled the expanded hall. Species that had never before been granted council membership now had voices and votes. Former colonies sent delegates. Suppressed populations elected leaders. Jake Morrison stood not on an elevated platform, but on the main floor, level with everyone else. His position carried no special authority, no extra voting power. He was simply one voice among many. High Chancellor Vexter remained in his position, but his title had changed. He was no longer Chancellor, but Speaker, a facilitator rather than a ruler. The transformation showed in his bearing, his mandibles clicking nervously as he called the session to order. The Galactic Assembly recognizes Ambassador Jake Morrison, Vexter announced, his voice carrying through the packed chamber. 3 days had passed since Drathnix's failed attack on New Haven. 3 days of frantic negotiations, emergency votes, and fundamental restructuring of galactic government. The countdown had reached 0, but humanity had not attacked. Instead, they had waited. "Thank you, Speaker Vexter," Jake said, his voice calm but firm. "We are here today to ratify the Galactic Rights Charter and establish the framework for representative governance. Before we vote, I want to address several concerns that have been raised." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. Many of you fear that humanity is simply replacing one tyranny with another. You worry that our demands for submission were just the first step toward human domination. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. "I do not blame you for these fears," Jake continued. "Your experience with power has taught you that those who can dominate will dominate. But I stand before you to explain why humanity is different." Lisa Chen activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. Images of wars, revolutions, dictatorships, and democracies flashed through the air. For thousands of years, humans practiced every form of government imaginable, Jake explained. "We built empires and tore them down. We created democracies and watched them fail. We established tyrannies and overthrew them." The images showed humanity's darkest moments and brightest achievements. "We learned, through tremendous suffering and loss, that power concentrated in few hands inevitably corrupts," Jake stated. "We learned that sustainable governance requires representation, accountability, and respect for individual rights. These are not theories for us, but lessons written in blood." Councillor Krevax, now Representative Krevax, pulsed with agreement. "Yet you seized power through threat of force. How is that different from what the Council did?" "Because we are giving it back," Lisa replied, stepping forward. "Look around this chamber. How many human representatives do you see?" The assembly members looked. They saw Jake and Lisa and a handful of other human diplomats. In a chamber of hundreds, humans were a tiny minority. We demanded submission to principles, not to ourselves, Lisa explained. The Galactic Rights Charter guarantees freedom for all species, including the right to govern yourselves. The assembly structure ensures proportional representation. No species, including humanity, can dominate through numbers alone. Felina, the minor species representative who had first supported human demands, stood. But you controlled the military forces. You demonstrated capability to destroy any opposition. Power flows from strength. It does, Jake acknowledged. Which is why we are addressing that concern directly. Admiral Torres, please join us. Susan Torres entered the chamber, her uniform crisp, but lacking any insignia of supreme command. She walked to the center floor and stood beside Jake and Lisa. I command human military forces throughout Council space, Susan began. Our ships remain in position around major worlds and installations. This concerns many of you, and rightfully so. She activated another display showing human fleet positions. Here is what we propose. Human forces will serve as peacekeepers for the Galactic Assembly, but only under strict conditions. The display shifted to show organizational charts and oversight structures. First, military action requires Assembly approval by 2/3 majority vote. We cannot act unilaterally. Second, all military operations are subject to review by an independent tribunal composed of representatives from non-human species. Third, any species can request removal of human forces from their territory by simple majority vote in the Assembly. The chamber fell silent as representatives absorbed this information. You are volunteering to limit your own power? Vexter asked, his mandibles showing confusion. We are ensuring that power remains accountable, Susan corrected. We built these forces to stop tyranny, not to enable it. If we become the tyrants, the Assembly must have the means to stop us. Drathanix entered the chamber, moving slowly as if still recovering from his defeat. He had been stripped of his military command but remained a representative of his species. He stood and spoke, his voice showing humility that shocked those who knew him. I attacked New Haven intending genocide, he said quietly. I came to destroy a colony of farmers and families. The humans could have killed me, my entire fleet, my people. Instead, they disabled our weapons and let us live. His skin showed colors of shame and wonder. When I demanded to know why, a human commander told me they remembered when others showed them mercy. They chose to be more than their capacity for violence. I did not understand those words then, but I do now. He looked directly at Jake. You demand we submit not to your rule, but to your example. You ask us to be better than we have been, to choose compassion over conquest. This is harder than any battle I have fought. Yes, it is, Jake agreed gently. Being strong is easy when you have power. Being merciful when you have the ability to destroy your enemies, that requires true strength. Earth taught us this lesson through centuries of mistakes. Lisa brought up the Galactic Rights Charter, its text appearing in every language represented in the chamber. This document guarantees basic rights for all sentient beings. Freedom from oppression, right to self-governance, protection from genocide, access to education and resources. It applies equally to every species. Including humans? Someone asked from the back. Especially humans, Lisa replied. We hold ourselves to the same standards we demand from others. Any species can bring charges against humanity for violations. The tribunal has full authority to investigate and prosecute. Representative after representative stood to speak. Some praised the changes, others expressed lingering doubts. The debate continued for hours, with Jake and Lisa patiently addressing every concern. Finally, Vexter called for the vote. All in favor of ratifying the Galactic Rights Charter and establishing the assembly governance structure. Hands, tentacles, appendages, and energy pulses rose throughout the chamber. The count was overwhelming. 412 in favor, 37 opposed, 18 abstaining. "The measure passes," Baxter announced, his voice shaking with emotion. "The council is officially dissolved. The Galactic Assembly is now the governing body for all member species." Cheers erupted from many representatives, while others sat in stunned silence. The old order had truly ended. Jake raised his hand for quiet. "There is one more matter to address. The 17 species destroyed by council action. We cannot bring them back, but we can honor their memory." Lisa activated displays showing memorials being constructed on a dozen worlds. "We are establishing remembrance sites for each lost civilization. Their histories, their achievements, their cultures will be preserved and taught. Future generations will know what was done and why it must never happen again." Tears flowed from many eyes, or their species equivalent. Even former council members who had been complicit seemed moved by this gesture. Krivak's pulsed brightly. "This is how you ensure we never forget. Not through punishment, but through memory and education." "Punishment has its place," Jake said seriously. "Those directly responsible for genocide will face justice. But entire species should not suffer for the crimes of their leaders. That cycle ends today." The assembly session ended with a mixture of hope, fear, and cautious optimism. Representatives filed out, already forming the coalitions and alliances that would shape galactic politics for generations. Jake, Lisa, and Susan stood together in the emptying chamber. "We did it," Lisa said softly. "We actually did it." "We started it," Jake corrected. "Making this system work will take decades, maybe centuries. There will be setbacks, conflicts, challenges we cannot foresee. But it is a beginning," Susan observed. "A chance to build something better than what came before." Days later, Jake found himself in a park on the council homeworld, watching children from a dozen species playing together under the watchful eyes of human peacekeepers. A young alien child, its species one of the formerly suppressed populations, approached him shyly. "Are you Ambassador Morrison?" "I am," Jake replied, kneeling to the child's level. "My parent says you are the one who freed us," the child said. "That you fought the bad people who hurt us." Jake shook his head gently. "I helped, but many people fought for freedom. People from your species and many others. We just had the tools to make it happen. Why did you help us?" The child asked with pure curiosity. "You did not know us." Jake thought carefully about his answer.